It's a pleasure to talk to Dave Johnson from the Falcon Blues, and Dave joins us on the line this afternoon. It's good to talk again, Dave.
And you, Paul, glad to be back. Getting just ready for the start of the season now. So, the bug is back, shall we say?
It is indeed, because of course we're just a week away from the start of that new Premier League season, and I know concerns, Dave, continue about the ownership of the club, but on the pitch, Everton have signed 5 new players this summer, and also we're about to begin a campaign in which we're going to say goodbye to Goodison Park. So I'd love to know, Dave, as an Evertonian, how are you feeling right now?
I said this last season, Paul, said give me a season where mid-table, no messing around, nothing to worry about, and nothing to give me a heart attack every week, and that's all I want this season. But I think you got to take last season's result, last season's performance, and last season's overall in context. We were deducted 8 points ultimately in the end, and we still finished way outside the bottom 3, and almost in a position where if we weren't deducted those points, we were safe mid-table and nothing to panic about. So I think Dyche has earned another season. He probably earned a couple more, because he's worked an absolute miracle last season, getting us to the position that we were in, despite the downfalls and the pitfalls and the problems that we had. So I think the 5 signings that we've even brought in, I know one of them is Jack Harrison, and someone that we've seen before, but the new lads that have come in, we've gone about it, and we've gone about it the right way. We've made the signings pre-July. That's not Everton. That's not the Everton I know. That's not the Everton where I'm sat up at 11 o'clock on the last day of the transfer window begging for anything to come our way and someone to be signed. Instead, we brought these all in, and Evertonians are like, okay, well, we can relax a little bit. They can, the players can bolster the squad and get involved in pre-season, and I think that's been a big bonus to the club. We've been able to get these players in early. We've got them in pre-season. They've gelled a bit more, and we're not having to panic with playing a player like on the last day of this. Starting them on the first day of the season when we only signed him 3 days ago. It's a massive refreshment for Everton.
It is indeed, and to be fair as well, Dave, we've seen some decent play from some of the new signings as well, in particular Jake O'Brien, who scored a great debut goal against Preston, and then he followed that up with another goal against Motherwell in a training game on Tuesday. And when you look at the likes of Jake O'Brien, he looks pretty useful, doesn't he?
He does, and this is what... There's always been that lack of, I would say, a selection headache for Sean Dyche, especially in his centre halves and his defensive pairings. He's always had to. He's relied on Tarkowski and Jared Brandthwaite, and to his credit, they were absolutely unbelievable last season. 13 clean sheets. I think this is a season where they can't be complacent. We're going into our final season at Goodison Park, and he needs that competition. He's had, Tarkowski and Brandthwaite, don't get me wrong, like I say, they've been fantastic last season. But when will they start, getting complacent and things? So having that extra competition and giving Dyche a reason to, okay, well, I can easily drop Brandthwaite, I can easily take out Tarkowski, and I've got someone reliable like Jake O'Brien, because unfortunately for him, it wasn't working. Unfortunately for Dyche, rather, it wasn't working for Michael Keane and Mason Holgate, and they look surplus to requirements. I mean, Michael Keane's probably put himself in like 4th position as a starting centre back now with O'Brien coming in. And like you say, he's looked impressive. He's looked sharp. He's a unit, and that's what Dyche wants. He wants big, strong individuals in his back 4. Especially his centre half pairings, that he can mix and match it all the time. Can he play in a 3? Can he play as a centre half pairing? And that's what Dyche wants. He wants big physical players in the side, and O'Brien fits the bill perfectly.
Yeah, he does indeed, and it gives Dyche options, as you say, and in particular some of the new signings as well. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Jesper Lindstrom, the 24-year-old from Napoli. I know he scored with a stunning free kick against Preston last weekend, but he says he wants to get his career back on track at Everton, because we know that Lindstrom has joined Everton on a season-long loan from Napoli. It was a difficult season for him in Italy last season. What are your impressions, your early impressions on what we've seen from Lindstrom so far?
I think if you're going to come to a club to resurrect your career, I think at times there's no better place than Everton. We've seen that with multiple players over the years, and I think Lindstrom fits the bill again for that. Like you say, he struggled at Napoli. Big transfer from was it Bromby, I think it was. But in his previous club, he was scoring goals, he was getting forward, he was making himself busy, and I haven't seen a lot of him last season. Unfortunately, I don't think he plays as much as he should as well because of his form. But his videos, you can only go off YouTube really, can't you? But his videos and his highlights and stuff like that shows that we've got a decent little player on our hands, and if he can revitalise his career at Goodison, then I'm all for that. It's the same with the likes of Jack Harrison. Wasn't terrific last season for us, but dug deep, and has earned himself another opportunity at Everton, and that's what'll happen. You work hard and you impress the manager, then you'll get given the opportunities, and hopefully this is something that Lindstrom does for John Dyche that benefits Everton more than anything.
And of course, Evertonians are going to be very keen to see how all the new signings acquit themselves as well. Tim Erubunam in midfield, Iliman Unjai, and also the return, as you say, of Jack Harrison. But I just wonder, Dave, what we've seen in terms of new signings, is it enough for Everton? Because I'm sure Evertonians would love for a new striker, maybe a quick winger to be added to the squad as well. But what we've got here are relatively new players that are young, but mostly without Premier League experience. And I just wonder how much of a concern that is for you.
I think I think the striker is the main one, Paul. We've been crying out for the striker since the days of Lukaku. It's not new to us. Beto hasn't set the world alight. Hopefully, a pre-season has done that for him. We're missing out on Yusuf Chimiti being out for however long that might be because of the injuries sustained in the operation recently. I think the striking role is where we are lacking. I think maybe could we get another winger in, perhaps, but I think for the players that we've got currently, the players that we've brought in, and the players that were already in the squad, not to mention even someone like Dele Alli, he's back in training with the first team squad. Is he going to be available? Would he give us that another option? There's plenty of options there, and there's plenty of reasons for us to be optimistic about Everton. I would like to see a striker in before the end of the window, because I can obviously see Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I don't think he'll hang around. I don't think he'd be here before the end of August. And if that's the case, then I'd like. You'll probably end up asking me this question anyway. With Solanke going to Spurs, what are our possibilities of bringing in Richarlison back on loan? That would be I think that would, not just for him, but I think for the fans, would be a boost, an unimaginable boost for the fans and the players. I think that player who can make something out of nothing and can bring players into the team. I think I would love to see Richarlison back if we were actually looking for a stronger attacking midfielder. A winger and attack is where I'm thinking we are lacking, and we could do with bringing someone in. But ultimately, defensively we're okay. Goalkeepers were okay. Midfield, we brought in like 3 number 10s there, which is great. I think it's the strikers that we need to be looking at, especially given the current situations with our strikers.
I think it's a really good point, isn't it? And when you look at the finances of the club as well, those new signings that Everton have brought in this season, they've cost the club around about 42 million in total, but the club will have recouped about 70 million from the sale of Amadou Onana, Dobbin, and also Ben Godfrey as well. And it's that debate, isn't it, Dave, that what's best for Everton Football Club here? Because if you've got 70 million to spend on players from the sale of those players that I just mentioned, do you bring in 7 relatively inexperienced players for 10 million each? Or do you bring in 2 more experienced players for, say, 35 million each?
I think it just depends on Dyche's attitude, doesn't it? I mean, these players could be £35 million, but have they got the same attitude that Dyche wants from players? Are they Lair players, or are they hard-working grafting players, which is what you think Dyche looks more towards. So I think if you were given Sean Dyche the option, yeah, I'm sure he would love to bring in two £35 million players, but if you also said, well, there's an option of bringing in 7 who are willing to graft, then I'm sure Dyche would take that more over the experienced £35 million players. I'm sure he'd love to have, a Harry Kane or a Mo Salah or someone like that in his side. Of course he would, but I think if you give him graft, then that repays you more. And then, if that opportunity comes where those players then become sellable assets, then it's there's that option, isn't it? There's always two sides to every story. You could sell a £35 million player and only get like 50 million for him, or you could sell 10 players for 20 million each. It's just the economy that we're in, and that's it's all about Dyche's attitude and Dyche's thoughts on what kind of player he wants.
It is indeed, and we'll see what develops, as I say, over the next few weeks. I think, we talked about Everton last season being defensively very strong. And, for a club to survive in the Premier League, they need to be good defensively. They need to have a strong midfield as well. But clearly to be competitive, they need to score goals as well. And the acid test here is whether Everton have got the players in the squad that can score those goals this season. And I guess, time will tell as the season gets underway. We are told as well, Dave, that Jared Branthwaite hopefully will be fit for the start of the new season. He was an injury doubt coming into the new campaign because after the defeat at Salford, I believe he underwent a minor operation, but we don't know the details about that procedure. So we'll see what develops there with Branthwaite. And you mentioned Chimiti as well. He had a great pre-season, played really well in the game against Sligo. But again, he is injured as well. He's got a foot injury, and that's going to see Chimiti sidelined for the opening game of the season, which is a real shame, really, isn't it?
I think so. I think these are players that have, obviously Branthwaite's the biggest miss, but obviously Chimiti's not been given enough game time last season, where you think Calvert-Lewin wasn't scoring goals, but was still bringing the players into the team. I think with Chimiti, he's a very solo kind of player. He's very plays for himself, but I don't mind that selfishness in a striker. I'd love to see that. I'd like to see a bit more of him, maybe, and see that confidence grow. And if he gets more opportunities this season, like say he played well against Sligo and got those 2 goals, I think it's only a matter of time where he'll be given an opportunity. And if Calvert-Lewin does end up going, then Beto and Chimiti are your 1 and 2 strikers. They're your first choice all of a sudden. So it's their opportunity to step up and be counted for, and hopefully that's something that they can do. I mean, personally, I'd like to see Calvert-Lewin stay. I don't see it happening because obviously the contract's there, but he's not interested in it. Where he goes is a different situation. But strikers, like I say, we're crying out for another striker, just an experienced striker, just to give Beto and Chimiti that little bit more breathing room and get them more experience within the Premier League. But I think I'd like to see Chimiti a bit more. I thought he played well when he did play, when he made little cameos at Goodison Park more than anything. And it'd be just interesting to see what plans Sean Dyche has, whether he plays a front 2 or he plays a lone striker. I think we just got to wait and see, Paul.
Well, this is it, and we may know more this time next Saturday because, of course, next Saturday Everton will kick off their new season at home to Brighton. And I think it's quite fitting, isn't it, Dave, that the Blues are going to be at Goodison for the first game of the new season because it's going to be their final campaign at the ground that has been their home since 1892. And I can imagine it's going to be an emotional afternoon at Goodison next Saturday.
Not just, I think every game is. I think, we're counting down now. We're less than 20 games at Goodison Park in the league. And for me, I'm a lad from L4. I was born on Goodison Road. For me, it means so much to Evertonians. Of course it does. But for me as a local, growing up on Goodison Road, knowing that the ground, I'm not going to be going down to where I used to live anymore. It is going to be emotional. It's going to be, not just the first game. Every game is going to be, we've only got 17 games, we've only got 15, and then you get to the last 10 games, oh my God, we've got 10 games left at Goodison Park, what are we going to do? And at this point, the stadium is up and, almost ready to roll. And then you're thinking, we've got 5 games after Goodison. We're on the last game of the season, and we're not going to be going to Goodison Park anymore. Everything like that is going to be so emotional, and I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to take that emotion and turn it into the positive that we can do. You know, make Goodison as volatile, as loud as possible. Every game at Goodison Park now should be carnival atmosphere. It should be a party, a full celebration of one of the greatest clubs in the world. Don't get me wrong, I'm an Evertonian, Paul, and I will say that, but it is one of the greatest clubs in the sporting world, and every game should be treated like it's last. Do you know? And that we should be taking no negativity into the ground. Everything should be positive about the rest of the season. Like I said, I'm happy to just finish mid-table again this season and crack on. But just give me something where it's positive for Goodison. I'm not moaning at someone and telling someone to shut up, because the moaning and the negativity is just getting to people, and it reflects on the players, reflects on the pitch. Just give me a nice, simple season this year. I've said it time and time again, but let's just treat this like a carnival atmosphere. Every game at Goodison should just be a celebration.